You filthy black thief, you don't belong in God's house. Victoria Harrington's voice sliced through the hushed murmurs of the chapel like a blade, her palm cracking against Aisha Johnson's cheek with a force that echoed off the wooden pews. Aisha staggered back, her jaw throbbing, blood rushing to her face as the sting burned deeper than any slap. The congregation gasped, eyes wide, frozen in their seats as Victoria towered over her, silk dress pristine, diamond earrings glinting under the altar lights. How dare you show your face here after stealing from my home? You think the Lord blesses liars like you? Aisha's fists clenched at her sides, her dark skin flushing with rage she fought to contain. Just hours earlier, she'd been dusting the Harrington mansion's back hallway, her uniform starched, heart heavy from another hospital bill for her sick son. Whispers drew her near the study door, Victoria's low laugh mingling with the butler's gruff tone. The poison's ready, he'd said. One drop a day in his coffee and the empire's ours. Aisha's dustpan clattered, betraying her. Victoria's head snapped up, eyes narrowing. Who's there? Aisha bolted, heart pounding, slipping out the servants' exit before they could catch her. Now in the Episcopal chapel where she'd sought solace every Sunday, Victoria had spotted her from across the aisle. The woman's lips curled in disgust. People like you, dark, untrustworthy, don't deserve grace. I saw you lurking near my jewels last week. Fired. Get out before I call the cops. Aisha's throat tightened, her son's face flashing in her mind. She straightened, refusing to crumble, but Victoria lunged again, shoving her toward the door. Out, you worthless intruder! The doors slammed shut behind Aisha, her cheeks swelling, dignity stripped in front of strangers. God sees through your lies, Mrs. Harrington. Aisha's voice cut low and steady, her eyes locked on Victoria's as the chapel doors swung wide behind her. The slap's burn pulsed across her cheek, but she held her ground, spine straight, refusing to flinch under the stares of the white-collared congregation. Whispers erupted, elderly parishioners clutching their Bibles, a few shaking heads in disapproval, but none daring to intervene. Victoria's face twisted in triumph, her manicured nails digging into her palm as she hissed, Get out, or I'll have you arrested right here in his house. You're nothing but a thief preying on good people. Aisha's lips pressed thin, her heart slamming against her ribs like a trapped bird. She thought of her son Jamal, waiting at home with his feverish cough, the medical bills stacking like accusations on her kitchen table. No time for tears. Tears were for the weak, and she'd buried her husband 2 years ago without shedding one in public. Instead, she turned slowly, her modest Sunday dress brushing the stone floor, and walked down the aisle with deliberate steps. The truth will rise, she murmured, loud enough for Victoria to hear, her voice carrying a quiet thunder that silenced the murmurs for a heartbeat. Victoria lunged forward, grabbing Aisha's arm with iron fingers. Don't you dare threaten me, you ungrateful wretch. I gave you a job out of pity, and this is how you repay? Stealing my earrings, spying like the lowlife you are? Aisha wrenched free, her skin prickling where the grip bruised, but she didn't strike back. I stole nothing, but you'll answer for what I heard. The words hung heavy, a promise etched in her unyielding gaze. Victoria's eyes flashed panic for a split second, masked quickly by rage. Out, and stay away from my family, or I'll ruin you forever. Aisha stepped into the crisp New York air, the chapel bells tolling behind her like a judgment. Her cheek throbbed, but her resolve hardened like steel. She hailed a cab, fingers trembling as she dialed her neighbor to check on Jamal. Fired, humiliated, branded a thief, all to silence what she'd overheard. But silence wasn't her weapon. She clutched her Bible tighter, whispering a prayer. Lord, let the light expose the darkness. Back inside, Victoria smoothed her dress, forcing a smile for the crowd, but her hands shook. Aisha's words echoed in her mind, a crack in her perfect facade. She's lying. Fire her now. Victoria's demand hit Alexander Harrington like a gut punch as they stormed out of the chapel, her heels clicking furiously on the Manhattan sidewalk. Alexander gripped the car door, his knuckles white, replaying the scene, his wife's hand cracking across Aisha's face. The congregation's stunned silence. Calm down, he snapped, sliding into the leather seat of their Mercedes. Victoria slammed her door shut. That black maid stole my earrings. I caught her snooping near the safe last week. She's dangerous. Fire her before she poisons our name. Alexander's brow furrowed, doubt creeping in like acid. Back at the Harrington mansion overlooking Central Park, he paced the study, oak floors creaking under his polished shoes. Victoria retreated upstairs, her voice trailing venom. Handle it, Alex, or I will. Alone, he pulled up the home security app on his phone, fingers flying across the screen. Footage from the hallway camera rolled. Aisha dusting, pausing at the study door, then bolting away. No theft, just fear in her eyes. He froze the frame. What spooked her? Rifling through Victoria's jewelry box, his hand closed on the stolen earrings, tucked under a velvet liner. His stomach twisted. She didn't take them. Rage simmered, mixed with a gnawing regret. Why the slap? Why the public humiliation? He dialed the chapel's office, requesting their security tape. As it downloaded, a notification pinged. An odd audio file from the butler's phone, synced to the family cloud by mistake. Static crackled, then whispers, "The poison's ready." Alexander's blood ran cold, his fist slamming the desk. Aisha's parting words echoed, "The truth will rise." He stared at the screen, the seed of suspicion taking root, pulling him toward a darkness he never imagined in his own home. "You're fired for good, you thieving shadow. Stay out of my sight." Victoria's screech echoed from the mansion's grand foyer as Alexander gripped the steering wheel, his Mercedes tearing through Harlem's crowded streets, knuckles bone white against the leather. Doubt clawed at his chest, the chapel footage replaying in his mind. Aisha's defiant stare, the earrings safe in his pocket. He slammed on the brakes outside a rundown brownstone, engine growling low. "Where is she?" he barked at a neighbor leaning on the stoop, flashing a crisp 100. The woman pointed upstairs, eyes narrowing. "Apartment 3, B3B, but she's got enough trouble without rich folks sniffing around." Alexander bounded up the creaky stairs, fists pounding the door. It cracked open, Aisha's face appearing, cheeks still bruised purple, her eyes hardening like flint. "What do you want? Come to finish your wife's job?" She tried to slam it shut, but he wedged his foot in, breath ragged. "Wait, those earrings weren't stolen? I found them. Tell me what happened." Aisha's jaw clenched, pain flashing in her gaze, but she yanked the door wider, pulling him inside. The apartment reeked of cheap coffee and worry, medical bills scattered on the table, her son Jamal coughing from the bedroom, thin frame racked under blankets. "Sit," she commanded, voice steel-edged, pouring him water with hands that trembled from suppressed fury. Alexander dropped into a worn chair, his tailored suit out of place amid the peeling wallpaper. "I saw the camera. You weren't stealing, but you heard something. Tell me." Aisha paced, arms crossed, tight over her chest, pulse thundering in her ears. "Your wife and the butler, plotting. Poison in your coffee, drop by drop. They want your empire." Alexander's face drained of color, fists balling on the table. "Proof?" She shook her head, eyes blazing. "I ran before they caught me, but I know what I heard." He leaned forward, voice dropping to a growl. "Why didn't you fight back in the chapel?" Aisha's lips twisted bitterly. "Fight? Against her money, her white skin? I'd lose everything. My boy needs meds, not a jail cell." Jamal's cough rattled again, pulling her to his side. She smoothed his forehead, whispering comfort, her back rigid against Alexander's stare. Regret knifed through him, his silence in the chapel, his blind trust in Victoria. "Help me uncover it," he urged, standing. "Come back to the house, we'll find evidence." Aisha turned, eyes searching his face for deceit, her resolve cracking just enough. "One chance, but if you're lying, I'll expose you both." Alexander nodded, the weight of her words sinking deep, pulling him toward alliance. "You're just another black woman they'll chew up and spit out. Don't let them win." The group leader's words fired like bullets in the dimly lit community center in Harlem, where Aisha sat rigid among a circle of women, her bruised cheek hidden under makeup, fists clenched in her lap. Hours after Alexander's plea, she'd slipped out, needing air, needing allies before diving back into that viper's nest. The women around her, scarred by job losses, false accusations, evictions, nodded fiercely, their stories spilling out like open wounds. "My boss called me a thief too," one said, voice cracking. "White lady like yours fired me on the spot. Now I'm scraping by." Aisha's pulse hammered, her mind flashing to Jamal's latest doctor's note crumpled in her purse. Another treatment delayed by her firing. She stood abruptly, voice slicing through the chatter. "It's not just theft lies. It's poison. Literal poison in a man's drink, plotted by his own wife." Gasps rippled, eyes locking on her. She paced the worn linoleum, energy coiling like a spring. "Victoria Harrington did this to me, but she's done worse. I know two others she framed. Maids like us, black, invisible until she needed scapegoats." The group leaned in, one woman pulling out a phone. "I worked for her sister-in-law. Same story. Accused of stealing. Blackballed from jobs." Aisha's breath caught, her resolve igniting. She grabbed a notepad, scribbling names, dates. "We collect proof, emails, witnesses, anything to show her pattern." Hands shot up. A former co-worker shared a photo of stolen items, later found in Victoria's trash. Another recounted overhearing the butler bragging about easy marks. Aisha's fingers flew, piecing fragments. A receipt for unmarked vials from a shady pharmacy, linked to the butler's credit card. Her son peeked in from the hallway, cough muffled, eyes wide at her fire. She knelt, hugging him tight, whispering, "Mama's fighting for us, baby, for all of us." The meeting surged with purpose, women exchanging contacts, vowing silence until the hammer fell. Aisha slipped a USB drive into her pocket, stolen glances at Harrington ledgers from her last shift, now digitized. "This ends her reign," she declared, voice thunderous. As the group dispersed, her phone buzzed. "Alexander, ready to come back?" She texted back, steel in her thumbs. "With ammunition." Back home, she tucked Jamal in, his small hand in hers, strength surging through her veins. No more hiding. She turned victimhood into victory, one damning clue at a time. "You think I'll crawl back to your poisoned palace after what she did?" Aisha's voice cracked like a whip through the mansion's service entrance, her eyes boring into Alexander's as she shoved the USB drive into his hand, fingers brushing his with electric fury. He gripped it tight, his face paling under the kitchen's harsh fluorescence, the butler's shadow lurking just beyond the doorway. "Listen to me," Alexander urged, stepping closer, his suit rumpled from the drive. "That audio file, it's real. Victoria's voice, clear as day. But I need more. Come back. Help me nail her." Aisha's chest heaved, rage boiling from the community center's fire still fresh in her veins. "Help you? After you stood silent while she slapped me down like dirt? Called me a thief in God's house?" Alexander's jaw tightened, regret flashing in his eyes like a storm. "I was blind. But those ledgers you stole, show me." She yanked open her bag, spilling printouts across the counter, receipts for toxins, emails to the butler plotting drops in his morning brew. "See? She's killing you slow, for your billions. And me? Just collateral because I overheard." He scanned the pages, fist crumpling the edges, breath ragged. "Damn her!" The butler burst in then, face twisted. "Sir, what's this intruder doing here?" Alexander whirled, voice thunderous. "Out! You're fired too if this checks out." The man backed away, eyes darting to the stairs where Victoria's footsteps echoed down. Aisha crossed her arms, pulse thundering. "One condition, prove this, and you apologize. Public in that chapel, before God and every soul who watched her humiliate me." Alexander met her gaze, nodding sharply. "Done. But we work together. Trap her, record her confessing." Victoria swept in, silk robe swirling, lips curling in disgust. "Her? Back? After stealing?" Alexander cut her off, voice ice. "Enough. She's staying, as my assistant." Victoria's eyes blazed, hand rising as if to strike again. But Aisha stepped forward, voice lethal. "Touch me and I scream everything." Victoria froze, color draining, then stormed out, slamming doors that rattled the china. Alexander turned to Aisha, handing her a keycard. "Guest room's yours. We'll start with the cameras. Catch her slipping poison." Aisha nodded, resolve steel hard, but her hand shook as she pocketed it. Jamal's cough echoed in her mind. This alliance could save him, or destroy her. As they pored over the USB late into the night, a hidden video file flickered to life. Victoria and the butler, lips locked, whispering about the next dose. Alexander's face hardened, the alliance forged in fire, ready to burn down the lies. You black witch, back to curse my house with your lies? Victoria's venom spat across the Harrington dining room, her fork clattering against fine china as Aisha stepped in, eyes locked fierce on the trio. Victoria, her steely mother Eleanor, and the butler, his face twisted in smug hate. Alexander flanked Aisha, his presence a shield, but Victoria surged up, chair scraping back with a screech. Alex, send her packing. She's poison, literally whispering filth about me. Eleanor's lips curled, her arthritic fingers gripping the table edge like claws. We've tolerated enough from her kind. Sneaky, ungrateful. Fire her again, or I'll cut your inheritance strings myself. Aisha's blood boiled, her fists balling at her sides, bruised from the chapel, still aching like a fresh wound. Your strings? You're the one pulling them, helping her dose him, drop by drop. The butler lunged forward, breath hot on her face. Shut your mouth, girl. You know nothing. But Aisha shoved him back, voice thunderous. I know enough. Your whispers in the study, the vials hidden in your quarters. Victoria cut in, slapping the table. Lies! Mother, call security. Get this intruder out. Eleanor rose slowly, eyes ice cold, dialing her phone with deliberate presses. Police it is. Trespassing black maid with a grudge. They'll lock you up fast. Alexander slammed his palm down, plates rattling. Stop! She's here on my order. That video, you and him, lips locked, plotting my end. Victoria's face drained white, but she recovered, snarling. Faked. She's manipulating you, Alex, using her sob story about that sick brat to worm in. Aisha's jaw locked tight, pain stabbing her chest at the mention of Jamal, but she advanced, pulling the USB from her pocket. Watch it yourself. And those pharmacy receipts, your mother's name on half, funding the toxins. Eleanor's phone dropped, her composure cracking, fingers trembling. You dare accuse me? I've built this family. You destroy it with your accusations. The butler grabbed Aisha's arm, gripping it with bruising like iron. Out before I make you. She wrenched free, elbow jabbing his ribs, breath ragged. Touch me again, and I scream for the cops myself. Alexander stepped between them, voice lethal. Back off, all of you. We're digging deeper. That quagmire of a charity fund? Mother's fingerprints all over the siphoned cash. Victoria's eyes darted to Eleanor, panic flashing. Shut him up! But Eleanor hissed, not here, upstairs. We'll handle her. As they retreated, whispers trailing like smoke, Aisha rubbed her arm, resolve burning hotter. They're circling, bigger plot than we thought. Alexander nodded, pulling her toward the study. Then we strike first. The door clicked shut behind them, the family's rot exposed just enough to fuel the hunt. You think that video scares me? I'll bury you both in court. Victoria's threat exploded from the upstairs landing, her nails digging into the banister as Aisha and Alexander huddled in the study, the USB drive glowing on the laptop screen. Aisha's fingers flew across the keys, replaying the clip. Victoria's hand tipping a vial into Alexander's coffee mug, her laugh low and cruel with the butler. We start here, Aisha snapped, voice edged like a blade, shoving a notepad toward him. Pharmacy receipts, trace them. Alexander's eyes narrowed, pulse racing, and he grabbed his phone to dial a private investigator. Get me everything on these purchases. Now. Aisha paced the room, her bruised arm throbbing from the butler's earlier grip, mind whirling with fragments from the community center. Your mother's involved. Those emails link her to offshore accounts, siphoning charity funds. Alexander punched in codes, pulling up bank statements, his face hardening as numbers scrolled. Millions missing, funneled to a dummy corp under her name. She leaned in, breath hot on his shoulder. And the toxins? Lab test coffee residue from yesterday. He nodded, sealing a sample in a bag, dispatching it via courier with a barked order. Rush, life or death. The butler slunk past the door, eyes darting, but Aisha caught him, lunging forward. Where's the vile stash? He shoved her back, snarling. Mind your place, girl. Alexander yanked him by the collar, slamming him against the wall. Talk, or I call the cops. The man's face crumpled, sweat beading. Basement safe. Code's her birthday. Aisha bolted downstairs, Alexander on her heels, their footsteps pounding like accusations. She cracked the safe, pulling out vials labeled with chemical codes, her hands shaking with fury. Arsenic traces, slow kill, untraceable till too late. Back upstairs, they cross-checked with medical records. Alexander's recent fatigue spell matched poison symptoms. Aisha's voice dropped low. Your last business partner died the same way. Heart failure, they said. Alexander's fist slammed the desk, splintering wood. She did it. For his shares. They hacked the butler's email next. Passwords guessed from overheard whispers, uncovering threads. Victoria to Eleanor. Double the dose, he's suspecting. Aisha's eyes blazed. We need witnesses. Those maids she framed. Alexander dialed the first, voice commanding. Come forward, I'll protect you. Hours blurred into a frenzy. A former maid arrived, trembling, spilling tales of planted evidence. Victoria's rages. She slapped me too, called me trash. Aisha hugged her tight, strength surging. You're safe now. They pieced together affidavits, linking to the charity scam. Funds meant for Harlem clinics diverted to luxury accounts. Alexander wired his lawyer, documents flying. Sue for embezzlement, freeze everything. But Victoria burst in, phone in hand. I know you're digging. Stop, or your precious son pays, Aisha. Aisha's blood froze. Jamal's face flashing, but she advanced, voice lethal. Threaten him, I'll end you. Eleanor appeared behind, cane thumping. Enough games. Confess nothing. The butler flanked them, blocking the door. Alexander shoved through. We have proof. Vials, emails, tests. Victoria laughed sharply. Burn it all. But Aisha had already uploaded copies to a secure cloud, thumbs flying. Too late. They retreated upstairs, whispers frantic, leaving Aisha and Alexander breathless. The partner's autopsy, pull it, she urged. He nodded, dialing forensics. Reports confirmed. Arsenic overload. Aisha's resolve ignited hotter, piecing the final link. Eleanor's signature on the poison order, disguised as medical supplies. As night fell, they mapped the web. Outer circle of bribed doctors, inner ring of family betrayal. Aisha rubbed her temples, exhaustion biting, but fire in her gut. One more clue, the safe's hidden ledger. Alexander cracked it open, pages spilling secrets, dates of doses, profit splits. This nails them. But a noise upstairs, footsteps creeping, sent them bolting, hearts pounding. The hunt deepened, every clue a step closer to confrontation. You murdered him, your own partner, for cold cash. Aisha's accusation ripped through the study air, her fingers stabbing at the autopsy report on the screen, eyes blazing into Alexander's as he recoiled, face ashen, hands gripping the desk edge until veins bulged. The pages detailed arsenic buildup in the dead man's system, matching the vials from the basement. Slow, agonizing death masked as heart failure. Alexander's breath hitched, fists pounding the wood. Victoria, she did this? With Mother's help? Aisha nodded sharply, shoving the ledger forward. Look, dates line up. Your partner challenged the charity embezzlement. They silenced him. Drop by drop in his scotch. Just like yours. Alexander's world was shattered, memories flooding. The partner's sudden illness, Victoria's tearless funeral act, and Eleanor's iron grip on the will reading. God, I trusted them. Aisha's jaw locked, her own fury mirroring his, the bruise on her arm pulsing like a war drum. They've been at it years. Your coffee's next. See the emails. Eleanor ordering batches, Butler delivering. It's a family slaughter for billions. He scrolled frantically, uncovering threads. Victoria to Butler. Double it. He's weakening. Eleanor's sign-off on fake medical invoices, profits routed to Cayman accounts. Aisha paced, energy coiling tight, her mind flashing to Jamal's frail form. This poison could have been his fate if she'd stayed silent. Your partner's widow, she suspected, but they paid her off. We call her. Alexander dialed, voice steel. Mrs. Klein, Harrington here. Tell me about the autopsy. The woman's sob broke through the line. They killed him. Threatened me to be silent. Arsenic traces, covered up. Aisha grabbed the phone. Proof? Send it. Files pinged in. Scans of tampered reports. Eleanor's handwriting on bribes. The revelation hit Alexander like a freight train, knees buckling as he slumped into the chair, sweat beading on his brow. My own wife? Betraying me? Murdering for greed? Aisha knelt beside him, grip firm on his shoulder. And me? Just a black maid to frame. Easy target. Shame flooded his eyes, but resolve sparked. No more. We expose it all. She stood, pulling him up. Start with your blood test. Confirm the doses. He nodded, rolling up his sleeve for the home kit, needle pricking sharply. Results flashed. Trace arsenic. Building lethal. Upstairs, whispers leaked through vents. Victoria hissing to Eleanor. He's on to us. Speed the plan. Aisha's ears perked. Her recorder was snatched from her bag. Caught! The truth crashed down. A web of betrayal spun from family blood, every thread a noose tightening around the guilty. Alexander's face set grim, the alliance unbreakable now, poised for the final strike. You filthy black rat! I'll end you before you spill another lie. Victoria's screech tore through the mansion's master bedroom, her hand whipping a vial from her nightstand drawer, eyes wild with cornered rage as Aisha and Alexander burst in, autopsy reports clutched like weapons. Aisha's heart slammed against her ribs, her shove sending the door crashing wide. But Victoria lunged, glass shattering on the floor as the vial flew, acrid fumes rising sharply. Back off! Aisha dodged, coughing, her lungs burning, grabbing Alexander's arm to yank him clear. Eleanor surged from the shadows, cane cracking against Aisha's knee with bone-jarring force. Stay down, you meddling trash! This family's mine! Alexander roared, shoving Eleanor back, her frail frame stumbling into the butler, who charged like a bull, fists swinging. Sir, she's poisoning your mind! His punch grazed Alexander's jaw, blood spraying, but Alexander countered with a knee to the gut, doubling him over. Aisha scrambled up, knee-throbbing fire, snatching the fallen vial's label. Arsenic concentrate, proof in her grip. This kills you tonight, Victoria clawed at her, nails raking Aisha's arm, drawing blood hot and sticky. Give it here, or your boy's next. Aisha's vision blurred with fury, Jamal's face fueling her shove, sending Victoria sprawling onto the bed, sheets tangling her legs. The butler recovered, grabbing Aisha from behind, arm locking around her throat like a vice, breath rancid. Let go, or she snaps. Alexander froze, fists raised, blood dripping from his split lip. Release her, now! But Eleanor cackled, snatching the reports from his hand, shredding pages with frantic tears. No evidence left. You're done. Aisha gasped, elbow jabbing backward, connecting with the butler's ribs, a crack audible. He loosened, wheezing, and she twisted free, knee driving up into his groin, dropping him howling. Victoria scrambled up, vial shard in hand like a dagger, slashing wildly. Die, you interfering bitch! Aisha ducked, a shard grazing her shoulder, fabric ripping, skin splitting warm. Pain lanced through her, but she tackled Victoria, pinning her arms, knee on her chest. Confess the partner, the poison, all of it. Victoria spat in her face, writhing. Never! You're nothing, black scum ruining everything. Alexander yanked the butler up by the collar, slamming him against the wall. Talk, or I choke you myself. The man gurgled, face purple. She planned it all. Partner first, then you. For the money. Eleanor swung her cane again, cracking Alexander's back, but he whirled, wrenching it free, snapping it over his knee. Mother! You monster! Victoria bucked, freeing an arm, fist connecting with Aisha's jaw, stars exploding in her vision. Aisha reeled, grip slipping, and Victoria rolled away, grabbing her phone. Security! Intruders! But Aisha snatched it, hurling it against the wall, screen shattering. No escape! The butler, gasping, pulled a hidden knife from his boot, blade glinting. Back off, or I got her. He advanced on Aisha, steel flashing. Alexander charged, tackling him low, knife skittering across the floor. Fists flew, grunts echoing, blood smearing the carpet. Aisha grabbed the knife, holding it high. Stop, or I use it! Eleanor lunged for the door, but Aisha blocked her, blade steady despite her shaking hand. Sit down. The old woman's eyes bulged, collapsing into a chair, breath ragged. Victoria crawled back, defeated, snarl twisting her lips. You'll pay. My lawyers will crush you. Aisha's voice cut cold. Not with this. She pocketed a shard, evidence sealed in blood. Alexander pinned the butler, tying his hands with a curtain cord, face grim. It's over. But Victoria laughed low, eyes darting to the nightstand. Not yet. Her hand shot out, grabbing another vial, uncapping it swiftly. One sip, and you all join the partner. Aisha dove, knocking it from her grasp, liquid spilling, burning across the floor. Victoria clawed her face, nails gouging, but Aisha pinned her down, knee grinding into her back. Enough! Alexander helped, binding her wrist with his belt, breath heaving. The room reeked of chemicals and blood, hearts pounding in unison. Eleanor's whispers broke. We did it for power. He was weak. Aisha's eyes met Alexander's. Alliance forged in chaos, but danger lingered in Victoria's hateful glare. Call the cops, Aisha gasped, her shoulder bleeding steadily. Alexander nodded, phone in hand, dialing with blood-slick fingers. Sirens wailed distant, closing in, the net tightening. You think sirens scare me? I'll burn this house down with you in it. Victoria's howl pierced the chaos, her bound wrists straining against the belt as she kicked wildly, eyes manic, spittle flying, while Aisha pressed her knee harder into her back. Blood from her shoulder wound, dripping onto Victoria's silk robe. Sirens wailed closer, blue lights flashing through the windows, but Alexander ignored them, shoving the butler harder against the wall, cord biting into his skin. Where's the ledger? The real one, with the partner's murder logged. The butler's face contorted, sweat pouring. Attic, locked box under the beams. Aisha released Victoria with a shove, rising despite the fire in her shoulder, and grabbed Alexander's arm. Move, before she wriggles free. They bolted upstairs, footsteps thundering, Eleanor's curses trailing like venom. You'll rot in prison, black whore. Aisha's jaw clenched, pain fueling her sprint. Blood staining her sleeve as they hit the attic door, Alexander kicking it open with a crack. Dust choked the air, but Aisha dove in, flashlight beam slicing shadows, spotting the box wedged under rafters. Here! She yanked it free, lock snapping under Alexander's pry bar, contents spilling, yellowed papers, vial labels, a handwritten journal, her fingers rifled through, heart pounding. Dates, partners' last meetings, doses noted. Final drop, heart stops at midnight. Your signature, Victoria's too. Alexander snatched a page, eyes widening, fury erupting in a roar. They documented it, like a business deal. Downstairs, police boots pounded the foyer, voices shouting, NYPD, hands up! But Victoria's scream echoed up. Help! They're attacking us! Aisha's pulse spiked, shoving the journal into her bag. We need more. Digital backup. Alexander hacked the box's hidden compartment, pulling a thumb drive, plugging it into his phone. Files loaded, scanned contracts, wire transfers to hitmen disguised as consultants. Eleanor's emails approving the partner's hit. This ties mother to the murder. Premeditated. The butler burst up the stairs, freed somehow, knife reclaimed, slashing wildly. Give it back! Aisha dodged, shoulder screaming, tripping him with a foothook, his body crashing into crates. Alexander stomped his wrist, knife clattering away. Stay down! Police flooded in, guns drawn. Freeze! Aisha raised her hands slowly, bag clutched tight. Evidence here. Poison. Murder logs. Victoria's wail from below. Lies! They're framing us! But an officer cuffed the butler, another scanning the drive Alexander handed over. This is damning. Offshore accounts, Toxin orders. Aisha's vision swam from blood loss, but she locked eyes with Alexander. Resolve unbreakable. The partner's widow. Call her now. He dialed speaker on. Mrs. Klein, confirm the bribes. Her voice trembled through. Yes. They paid me messalently after the autopsy. Arsenic killed him. Officers nodded, cuffing Eleanor as she spat defiance. You'll pay, Alex. Traitor son. Victoria thrashed in restraints downstairs, face twisted. I'll sue, ruin you both. But Aisha stood tall, wound throbbing, handing the vial shard to a cop. Test it. Matches his blood. Alexander supported her, arm around her waist. You saved me. Sirens blended with her ragged breaths. The final proof sealed, justice closing in like iron jaws. You poisoned me, your own husband, for greed. Alexander's bellow shattered the foyer silence, thrusting the thumb drive high as police swarmed the mansion, badges flashing, handcuffs clicking onto Victoria's wrists while she thrashed like a trapped animal. Aisha stood firm, her shoulder bandaged hastily by a medic, her voice cutting sharply. Play it, now! An officer plugged the drive into a laptop, screen flickering to life. Victoria's hand tipping arsenic into coffee, her whisper to the butler. One more week. He drops dead. Gas ripped from the cops, Eleanor's face crumpling as she sagged against the wall, cane clattering. Lies! Faked! Victoria spat, but Aisha shoved the journal forward, pages open to murder logs. Read it. Partner's doses, your handwriting. Alexander advanced on her, eyes blazing. Confess, or they drag you out screaming. Victoria's lips twisted, defiance cracking. Fine, you weak fool. We did it. Partner first, for his shares. You next, for everything. The butler, cuffed and kneeling, broke. She ordered it. Eleanor funded the vials. Eleanor lunged weakly, clawing at Aisha. Shut up, idiot! But officers yanked her back, reading her rights coldly. You're under arrest. Murder. Attempted murder. Embezzlement. Aisha's pulse thundered, Jamal's safety flashing. This ended it. The widow's voice boomed from the speakerphone. They bribed me silent, but no more. Testimonies match. Victoria's scream echoed. You'll pay, black bitch. My lawyers will. A cop silenced her with a gag order read. Alexander turned to Aisha, voice low. You exposed them. She nodded, resolve iron. For justice. Medics hauled the butler out, vials bagged as evidence. Eleanor's whispers fading to sobs. My empire ruined. Officers sealed the scene, tapes rolling confessions. The family's rot lay bare under glaring lights. As Victoria was dragged away, eyes hateful on Aisha, the truth hit like a hammer. Betrayal complete, empire crumbling. Alexander gripped Aisha's hand, alliance sealed in victory, but scars lingered deep. The mansion doors slammed, locking out the poison forever, justice dawning sharp. You black devil, I'll curse you from my grave. Victoria's final screech clawed the courtroom air, her handcuffs rattling as the judge's gavel slammed down, sentencing her to life without parole, eyes shooting daggers at Aisha from the defendant's box. Aisha stood rigid in the witness stand, her bandaged shoulder throbbing under her suit, but she met the glare head-on, voice steady. Justice served. Your poison ends here. The judge nodded grimly, reading charges. Murder of the partner, attempted murder on Alexander, embezzlement, raking in millions. Victoria lunged against her restraints, spit flying. Lies! That maid framed me. Her kind always does. Eleanor's turn came swiftly, the old woman's cane confiscated, her frail frame slumping as the prosecutor flashed the ledger pages, vial tests confirming arsenic. Guilty, 20 years, the judge barked, Eleanor's claws digging into the table, whispering venom. You'll pay, Alex, disowning your blood for her. Alexander rose from the gallery, face stone cold, pointing at the screen showing offshore transfers. Your blood money, gone. The butler cracked next, plea deal spilling. They ordered the hits, I mixed the doses. 10 years slapped on him, head bowed, no fight left as guards hauled him out, boots dragging. Aisha's testimony sealed it, her words cutting deep. I heard the plots, felt the slaps. But truth wins. Prosecutors nodded, presenting the thumb drive. Videos looping Victoria's confessions, Eleanor's bribes exposed. The courtroom buzzed, reporters scribbling frantically, but Aisha's pulse steadied, Jamal's healed smile flashing in her mind. Treatments paid now, courtesy of seized assets. Victoria twisted one last time. Appeal! I'll drag you down. But the judge cut her off, gavel echoing. Denied! Take her away! Guards yanked her up, her screams fading down the hall. Alexander gripped Aisha's hand as they exited, cops flanking them, the family's empire dismantled, assets frozen, charities restored, every knot untied, partner's widow compensated, false accusations on former maids expunged, Aisha's record wiped clean. Relief washed over her, bruises fading, but scars etched deep. It's done, Alexander murmured, voice thick. She nodded, chin high. For all of us. The courthouse doors swung wide, freedom sharp in the air, but echoes of betrayal lingered, pushing them toward rebuilding. You stole from the vulnerable. Now it all goes back. Alexander's declaration boomed through the press conference hall, his hands slamming a check onto the podium. Millions reclaimed from frozen accounts glaring under spotlights as Aisha stood beside him, chin high, her healed shoulder no longer a reminder of pain, but of triumph. Reporters surged, cameras flashing, but Alexander cut through the noise. The Harrington fortune, tainted by murder and theft, reverts to those it harmed, starting with Harlem clinics. Aisha's pulse quickened, her eyes scanning the crowd. Former maids nodding fiercely, Jamal in the front row, his cough gone, cheeks flushed healthy from funded treatments. Alexander turned to her, voice dropping low amid the chaos. You lead it. The Aisha Johnson Foundation. Every cent for Black women, framed, fired, forgotten. She gripped the podium, resolve surging like fire through her veins. No more silence. Scholarships for their kids, legal aid against bigots like her. Funds poured out. Embezzled charity cash rebuilt community centers. The partner's widow was awarded restitution that bought her a home, evicting the shadows of bribes. Aisha's fingers flew, signing deeds, turning Victoria's luxury penthouse into a women's shelter. Walls once echoing plots, now ringing with laughter and plans. Victoria's prison letters arrived, venomous rants from behind bars, but Aisha shredded them, her laugh sharp. She rots, we rise. Alexander knelt at Jamal's level, handing him a key. Your new room, in our home. The boy's eyes widened, hugging tight, Aisha's throat closing with emotion she'd long buried. Board meetings followed, Aisha chairing, voice commanding. Expand, job training, health grants. Donors flooded in, inspired by headlines. Billionaire redeems family sins. Alexander wired the last transfer, his hand on her shoulder. I was blind, now I see through you. Communities transformed, clinics stocked with meds, lawyers dismantling false records, women like the frame maids starting businesses with seed money. Aisha visited one, hugging a tearful ally. Your story fueled this. Back home, Alexander cooked dinner, Jamal giggling at the table, a new family forged from ashes. More than money, it's hope, Aisha murmured, her hand in his. He nodded, eyes soft. For generations. The foundation's logo, a rising sun over clasped hands, is emblazoned on billboards, symbolizing reclaim, rebuild. As funds healed wounds, Aisha's scars faded, strength eternal, pushing toward a brighter dawn. You slapped me down, called me a thief, but today I stand forgiven before God. Aisha's voice rang clear through the Episcopal chapel, her hand gripping the podium as Alexander knelt at the altar, head bowed. The congregation's eyes locked on him, murmurs rippling like waves. He rose slowly, voice thick with shame. Aisha Johnson, I wronged you, stood silent while my wife humiliated you, falsely accused you. Before the Lord and all here, I apologize. You saved my life, exposed the rot in my family. Tears stung Aisha's eyes, but she held them back, chin high, her modest dress a stark contrast to the polished pews where once she'd been dragged out. Parishioners nodded, some clapping softly, others whispering prayers, the air thick with redemption. Alexander extended his hand, pulling her into a hug, the chapel bells tolling in approval. "Your family now." Jamal rushed forward from the front row, healthy and beaming, wrapping arms around them both, his laughter echoing pure. "Uncle Alex." The boy tugged Alexander's sleeve, eyes wide. "Can we go home now?" Aisha's heart swelled, scars from the slap fading into strength as they walked the aisle together, no longer maid and master, but equals forged in fire. Months blurred into rebuilding. The foundation thrived, Aisha at the helm, her office buzzing with women filing claims, lawyers dismantling barriers. "Next case, false firing," she commanded, voice authoritative, signing grants that lifted families from poverty's grip. Alexander sold the tainted assets, funneling billions into scholarships. Jamal's first among them, his medical bills erased forever. For the overlooked, Alexander declared at a gala, Aisha by his side, her gown shimmering as donors pledged more, inspired by her story. No more silence against injustice. Evenings brought peace. Dinners in the renovated mansion, Jamal's giggles filling rooms once poisoned with whispers. Alexander taught him chess, pieces clicking strategically, while Aisha shared Bible verses, her faith unbreakable. "Lord tests us," she murmured one night, hand on Jamal's forehead, "but truth prevails." Alexander nodded, eyes soft on her. "You taught me that. Courage over blood." Subplots resolved. Frame maids rejoined as partners in the foundation, their records cleared, businesses booming. The partner's widow visited, hugging Aisha tight. "You avenged him. Thank you." In the chapel again, under stained glass glowing, Alexander proposed an alliance eternal. Not marriage, but partnership in justice. "Build with me." Aisha smiled, the ring slipping on. "For hope." Jamal cheered, the new family complete, bonds stronger than any betrayal. Victoria's letters from prison arrived sporadically, hate-filled scribbles, but Aisha burned them, ashes scattering like forgotten lies. Eleanor's appeals failed, her empire dust. The butler turned the state's witness, rotting in isolation. The lesson etched deep. Evil hides in entitlement. Prejudice strikes like poison, but quiet strength shatters it. Aisha stood on the foundation's balcony, overlooking Harlem's lights, Jamal asleep inside, Alexander's arm around her. "We rose from ashes," he kissed her forehead, "and we'll lift others." Faith, unity, and integrity triumphed, proving dignity unbreakable, truth a shield against darkness. Injustice crumbles when the overlooked stand tall, forging futures bright with promise, love, and sacrifice, defining true guardianship over blood or status. Courage echoes eternal, inspiring all to fight for what's right. In this story, we see that truth and courage ultimately triumph over lies, prejudice, and manipulation, proving that protecting the innocent requires persistence, unity, and selfless action, while dignity remains unbreakable against false accusations. What are your thoughts? Share your own stories of overcoming injustice, where you're watching from, and any suggestions in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button for more inspiring tales. See you at the next one.